Hello, how you doing, and welcome back to the channel. Will London Irish go into administration? I think it's a little bit too early to jump to that conclusion, but this is what I'm talking about in the video following reports this week, in particular today on Thursday, about the finances of London Irish and the players and staff not getting paid and putting their game this weekend into doubt. I'm going to get into all of it in the video, but do drop a comment down below and let me know what you think of this situation, one that is particularly charged for fans of English rugby after what happened earlier this season. But do drop a comment down below on anything I touch upon in this video. Also, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, then that's an added bonus. Let's get into it. So as I said in the intro, I think this isn't quite a Wasps and Worcester situation just yet. I think we're all hypersensitive to a Gallagher Premiership club's finances and situations like that because of what we saw with Wasps and Worcester and them going into administration and out of business earlier this season. In the case of Wasps, they'll hopefully start in the Championship next year. As for Worcester, it looks like they'll have to drop all the way down to the bottom of the pyramid. So because of the culture and the climate we've had, particularly this season and the start of this season, we're all particularly sensitive to that. Having said that, it's not great. I'll bring you up to speed on a rough timeline, an abridged timeline, if you like, of what's happened in terms of London Irish and why there are concerns over their finances. So it was reported at the start of this week that players and staff hadn't been paid on time for last month. Then today in the Times, I woke up, opened my app and saw that there was a report from Alex Lowe, the chief rugby correspondent, that the London Irish players could boycott, could threaten strike action with their final game of the season against Exeter at home this weekend if they weren't paid by tomorrow. And then it's actually been London Irish's media day. So Declan Kidney, their director of rugby, has been speaking, and he said to the media that the match is absolutely definitely going ahead. So that's kind of where we are as things stand at the moment. Obviously the players, and in that article in the Times, it spoke about how they were speaking to the RPA and lawyers, and obviously if they aren't paid by a certain point, similar to kind of the situation we saw earlier in the season, you do get things come into it like a breach of contract, and whether the contracts of the players are then void, so whether they can then leave the club and all that sort of thing. And I think part of the reason that this just makes us all so nervous is because of what we've seen come before. And a lot of the noises we're hearing from Premiership Rugby, the noises we're hearing from the club, and the takeover that's apparently taking place at the moment is all very positive, but I think we're just guarded because we heard similar things happen, particularly in the case of Wasps earlier this year, where people were saying they expect it to be okay, and ultimately it wasn't. But I mentioned that takeover, and this is kind of what it revolves around. So there's an American consortium reportedly coming in to take over at London Irish, and that is a process that is currently ongoing. The prospective new owners actually paid salaries for earlier this year as well already, I believe I'm correct in saying. So they have been stepping in, but there was some sort of issue with the latest round of salaries, which meant they haven't been paid and they still haven't been paid. But from what we've seen and the quotes that are coming out and what people are saying is there was some issue with getting money from an American bank over to here, then to London Irish. Hopefully it's just some sort of administrative issue, but as I've said already, it's the sort of stuff which just doesn't sound great, and we're all sensitive towards what it could mean. But as I said, Declan Kidney has said the game is definitely going ahead. Obviously, there was also an issue when this stuff happens about the players' insurance. Apparently, the insurance and everything is in place. So I'm actually expecting to be at the game. I'm hoping to be at London Irish Exeter in the Premiership this weekend. I think it will go ahead. But I think it still brings into question the finances of the Gallagher Premiership and the clubs in the Premiership, and of course of London Irish. This isn't the first time we've seen, or it's not the first time we've heard about rumours of London Irish and how they're struggling a little bit. I just wanted to also point you in the direction of another article. Andy Good from the Rugby Pod, former England international, most of you will know who he is. He's got an article on Rugby Pass, which perhaps just has a slightly different perspective on this, rather than the kind of doomsday calamitous, you know, London Irish are going to be kicked out of the league and into administration. Just kind of says from what he's heard, and he's someone who's still very much in tune with the game, works in the media a lot, will speak to people within London Irish and within the club. He doesn't feel like this is quite the same as with Wasps and Worcester. When you think about a club takeover and everything that has to go through the lawyers and everything that has to be agreed, it's simply a case of just trying to get that over the line rather than maybe not having the owners there or it all being false promises and things like that. Ultimately, these things take time. He also points out that it's different with HMRC, and that you might remember with Wasps and Worcester, HMRC were basically chasing them over unpaid tax bills from what I've seen in reports, I don't think that's the case with London Irish so far, but it's more centering around obviously the players and staff not being paid, which is not good at all. And actually that Andy Good article chimes with what Simon Massey-Taylor, the Premiership Rugby CEO, said earlier this week in an interview with 5 Live with Chris Jones. I think it was the rugby union correspondent for the BBC doing that interview, where he was saying that the RFU and Premiership Rugby are a lot more involved in this situation than they have been previously. You might remember, following what happened with Wasps and with Worcester, he and Bill Sweeney at the RFU, they got dragged up in front of a parliamentary select committee and got dragged over the coals in terms of their handling of those two situations. So I would imagine that both Premiership Rugby and the RFU are heavily involved in this scenario, and Simon Massey-Taylor seemed to be pretty positive, again, saying it wasn't the same as Wasps and Worcester, and seemed positive that it would get over the line. But hopefully there's just a little bit more administrative safeguarding, if we can call it that, in place to make sure that they are overseeing everything that's going on with London Irish, and hopefully that takeover can take place. The game goes ahead this weekend and we can move on into the future. The final point I wanted to raise in this video, though, and a big question for me, we talk about an American consortium apparently wanting to buy London Irish, and my kind of reaction to that, and maybe it's just with my skeptical hat on and being a bit skeptical about the situation, but it's almost, why would an American consortium want to buy London Irish? Now, there's a couple of obvious answers to that. Is number one, they're a fantastic club. They have a brilliant academy system. They play their rugby in a great area of London, although I would also say quite a saturated market in terms of where they are based. They're playing good rugby at the moment as well. They're on the rise in terms of just missing out on the playoffs this season in the Gallagher Premiership. There are a host of reasons that London Irish is a brilliant club. But I just wonder, from a financial point of view, from a business point of view, how are London Irish going to be profitable? In that they have a great stadium at the moment, but their crowds aren't great. There are also rumours, because they don't own their stadium, they share it with Brentford. There are reports that they might end up leaving the G-Tech. Possibly they could ground share with AFC Wimbledon. The London Broncos rugby league team also plays there, kind of just up the road in Earlsfield. So I don't know what that would mean if they were to ground share, but it means they might be leaving that stadium. And I think from a business point of view, I struggle to see how it's profitable, I suppose. And obviously, I'm no business expert, but I'm just a little bit skeptical about what they're seeing in London Irish. Why do they want to invest in that club? Because how can you make it profitable? How can you make money from London Irish? A bit like how can you make money from pretty much every club in the Gallagher Premiership at the moment, really. Pretty much all of them. I think Newcastle were the only ones with the latest set of accounts that didn't lose money, and Newcastle don't pay up to the salary cap. So I don't know, I just have a few question marks there really. And to all the London Irish fans watching, that's no knock on what a great club London Irish is. It's just more about, if you've got an American consortium coming in, their aim will be to make money. How do they do that owning a Gallagher Premiership club? I'm not too sure at this moment in time. So that's hopefully kind of a roundup of where things stand. As I say, I suspect that the game, or I feel pretty confident the game between London Irish and Exeter will go ahead. I take confidence from what we're hearing from Premiership Rugby and various others that they expect the takeover to go through, and hopefully this situation will all be resolved. But because of what we saw earlier this season, we have to take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt. But hopefully everything goes all right. Drop a comment down below on everything I've mentioned in this video. Also in particular, why would they want to invest in London Irish? I think that's quite an interesting point. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.